What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Cjthecheesedj here, and we are back with a brand new top 10 for you guys. I know it's been a while, but here we are. Now, what we are doing is we are currently going to be revamping our previous top 10 videos. Some of these rank from like a year and a half ago, so they are very outdated, so they are the ones we will be focusing on first. And this is the first of many of those outdated videos being revamped. So guys, today we are taking a look at top 10 carnivores worth taming. And guys, we're already kicking it off here with number 10 being the Allosaurus. Now, the Allosaurus is an absolute machine of a carnivore. It just absolutely rips apart anything and everything, especially when in a pack. It gains the ability to do a bleed bonus damage, which you can see there is actually affecting this mammoth. You can see if we just let the blood carry on and do its thing, you can see that the mammoth is moving slowly, as well as that he'll actually get more and more bloodstains, indicating that he is taking more and more damage from our, I think it's called like the gore attack or something like that, and it makes you bleed 5% of your total health over 10 seconds, I believe. So yeah, that is just one of the effects of the Alpha Allo, as well as that it gets an Alpha boost, a pack leader boost, which you can see here. So both these guys are the same levels. If we jump off here and take a look, we'll just quickly whistle passive. Take a look at these guys' melee damage. You can see here, this one is 314. This one over here is 311. And what we're going to do, we're going to go like that. So you can see there, we hit 217 with the one we are riding. We get this guy to attack. You'll see that he actually hits less than that because he isn't the leader. So you get a huge damage boost as well to your melee damage. Now, in terms of health, these guys obviously aren't as tanky as some of the other larger carnivores. This guy's got a couple of points in him, but he was a level 150 base tame, and he had about 5.8k health, which is decent. You know, it's nothing amazing, but these guys really excel at dealing damage, and you can even at one stage use them for boss battles if you get the right mutations on their melee damage and they have enough health. You can easily use these guys to take on any and all bosses of Ark. As well as that, they're just great traveling mounts as well. They have a really good useful amount of stamina. Their stamina usage is relatively low, and you get a pack of 6 of these guys. You'll have normally 2 alphas, and you will just wreck the face off any dino, even at gigas. Because of that bleeding effect that they do, it just has a detrimental effect to the Giga. It is absolutely amazing to use, and I cannot recommend these guys enough. That is why they come in at number 10. Alrighty guys, now coming in at number 9, we have the Snow Owl. Now, the Snow Owl was one of the newest dinos brought out on the Extinction DLC, and by golly gosh, did it make a big difference to PvP and just general battling. So the Snow Owl, in case you didn't know, has the ability to heal those around it. Now you can currently see we've got a green aura based around us. That means that we are getting healed. The only downside is that, well, you get kind of cold, you get frozen. Now, that isn't necessarily always a bad thing, unless you're constantly getting attacked by something, by like enemy players, in which case you probably should stop healing and run. But yeah, the Snow Owl is great for that, because other than the Daedon, there was no other real creature that would heal. And the Daedon wasn't as reliable as the Snow Owl because it drains through food like crazy. Whereas the Snow Owl relies solely on stamina for healing. For example, if you were to pump this bad boy's stamina right up, he would continuously heal for quite a bit of time, which is great for soakers such as stegos, rock golems, or anything like that if you're raiding bases and you need your soakers healed up in a jiffy. As well as that, they obviously have the ability to fly, which, as you guys may have noticed, the Daedons lack. They don't exactly have wings coming out of the sides of them. Now, as well as that, the Snow Owl also has thermal vision, which on other maps isn't as useful as you would say on Extinction, because, well, they can sense the element nodes. However, the added bonus of the Snow Owl's thermal vision is that it actually can see enemy players. Now, this may not be as useful if you've got a clear sight of them, but if you do manage to kill them with, say, a dinosaur or a cheeky headshot, and their body goes flinging, flopping all over the place like it does all the time in Ark, well, the Snow Owl has the ability to seek out the body and actually allow you to find it, because the body will give off a thermal signature, which allows you to pretty much gather the loot off it, which, you know, can surprisingly result in some pretty impressive stuff. Now, as well as that, you can also dive bomb with the Snow Owl, in which case you plummet from the sky and you freeze all those around you in a small radius. You can see there we just froze that Dillo solid. Now, obviously, the only downside to that is that that heals them, so, you know, that's possibly a downside. However, if you are doing it around your own dinos, then by all means go right ahead because it is fantastic for healing. Now, one final ability that we haven't touched on with the snow owl is its ability to dive or glide, however the heck you want to call it. In very similar fashion to the griffin, the snow owl has the same ability, which allows him to traverse the terrain at an incredible speed. So this guy is definitely worth taming. And now the next creature coming in at number 8 is none other than another extinction creature, the Valenosaur. The Valenosaur is a great carnivore to tame, as are all the other carnivores located on the list. But the Valenosaur has a special place in my heart as he has the ability to do this. Shoot killer spines out at enemy dinos and enemy players and allow them to just wreck we just casually get munched on, and allow them to wreck the face of any living creature. You can see here he's doing his shotgun barrage. As long as this guy has stamina, he's able to empty these spines into any dino possible. And it is great. It is so wonderful. Now you can see here that we've got this Therizino in front of us. Well, not anymore because we just killed it. Now, these spindles do scale with the melee damage of the Valenosaur. However, there is a downside to this. He has the ability to go into a turret mode. So if you come in here and you go into behavior, you can see that he's got an enable turret mode. This essentially sits him in a stationary position and allows him to fire on mainly players or anything of your choice really. If you've got him set to aggressive, he will fire at anything in range. Now, the only downside to this is that the melee damage does not scale up with him during turret mode. It actually kind of just sits at his base level, which as you saw was about 12 or 11 damage. Now, that is the only downside that I've noticed to these guys myself. Other than that, they're great for base defense as they do down flyers as well, such as Wyverns and stuff like that, if they fire their needles into them. Now, they've also got the ability to jump. Their speed isn't that amazing, but their stamina is a definite must-have if you want to continuously fire your spines at enemy dinos. Because, well, if you run out of stamina, you're going to stop shooting. So there's not really much else to say about these guys other than the fact that they're great. They're also really easy to breed. They don't take too much time to breed because, well, they just don't. That's just the way the devs made them. So I would definitely invest in one of these guys if you haven't already, even an army of them, because they are absolutely amazing. And I would definitely recommend worth taming up these Valenosaurs. Now at number 7, we have none other than the big fluffy vulture himself, the Argentivist. This guy is hands down one of my favorite mounts, due to the fact that he's just so versatile. If you want a weight RG, well, you simply pump up his weight and his stamina. If you want a battle mount, well, you pump up his melee damage and his health. He's very versatile in that way, and these guys can dish out a surprisingly high amount of damage to stuff. As well as that, they are airborne, so if you do feel like you're getting yourself into a pickle, simply store up enough stamina so that you can fly off and recover yourself. Now, as well as that, these guys also have the ability to pick up other dinosaurs. Granted, you have to find the right dinosaurs to pick up. There we go, you can see there we've managed to pick up the Iguanodon. These guys can surprisingly pick up some pretty large creatures. The largest I'm pretty sure they can pick up is a Procoptodon. I think that's the largest. I may be mistaken. There might be something that's larger. No, a Thylacoleo as well. Procoptodons could possibly be larger. Now, as well as that, another extra ability that they have is the ability to regain health. You can see in that top right corner, they've got rapid regeneration. This allows them to rapidly regenerate their health, obviously, as the rapid regeneration says so. So that is a really good use for these guys, especially if you want to go for the battle bird path. Now, another really good useful thing about these guys and why you want to make them your weight mounts is because they reduce the weight of certain resources in their inventory. Now you can see we've got 110 metal, chuck it over here, it comes into 110. We chuck it in the RG's inventory, it gets halved. This is the same for a multitude of items such as stone, crystal, obsidian, metal. There's just a ton of items and resources that the RG reduces in half. As well as that, he also has the saddle ability to make smithy items, so anything you can make in a smithy, you can make in the back of an RG, which that itself also excels this dino's ability. So the RG is definitely worth taming, and he's one of the easiest tames to tame. Simply build a trap, lure him into the trap, knock him out. That's all it takes to knock the RG out. Then again, you could say that for all the other dinos on this list as well, but I definitely recommend the RG to anyone and everyone. Now, coming in at number 6, we have the big creepy crawly himself, the Carnivores. The Carnivores, in my opinion, is one of the most unique carnivores in that there's nothing really else like him in any of the other maps. Now this guy is found in Aberration, and that is definitely where he excels at. Now you can obviously take these guys out into the other maps. He obviously isn't as great as he is on Aberration because Aberration is built very vertically. However, you still can use this guy as any sort of means. Now you can currently see that we are holding a Doedicurus in one of our hands and we're trying to grab a raptor. There we go, you can see that we've got the raptor. Now you can actually grab and fling these dinosaurs in whatever direction you want, or you can just clobber them into the ground, whichever you prefer. Now, as well as that, the Carnivore has the ability to use both his claws and slam into the ground. This obviously does increase damage, and it allows him to, well, deal with threats quicker. Now, like I said, you can also pick up creatures. The largest creatures I'm aware that you can pick up are the Stegos, and you can actually carry them in one claw each, and you can actually fling them. So we'll demonstrate the flinging as soon as this Alpha Raptor leaves us alone. But these guys are great. Like you can see here, we're able to keep this Raptor at an arm's length because of the reach of the Carnivore and the slight knockback that it does. Now, as I was saying, the tossing ability. So if you actually press the C key, you bring up like a little crosshairs and you can actually fling whatever dinosaur you're holding in that direction. Granted that there's not actually a Diplo breaking your shot, you can actually do it with relative ease. Here we go. Dude, do you, like, honestly, do you mind? Like, get out of here. Go, just go. So like I was saying, you can actually fling at these dinos in a certain direction. Now, our Doedicurus isn't actually wanting to respond to us right now because he's curled up in the fetal position, which is always wonderful. So here we have a Stego that we're actually going to fling. All you need to do is hold it down and boom. Just like that, you can fling the Stego. And we're not talking like a couple of meters. We're talking over the bloody mountainside. Look how far that Stego went. So this is great if you want to try soaking a base on Aberration and it's guarded by height. Bring in a couple of crabs, lob a couple of Stegos up there with some riders, and you've got yourselves a couple of soakers. Now, another added ability of the Carnivore is that he has the ability to jump. And these distances are pretty dang impressive. Obviously, because he's built to navigate the terrain of Aberration, he's going to be able to jump really far and really high, which is also another great aspect of the Carnivore. Now, one final thing that I do want to mention with the Carnivore is that if you do have gathering dinos, such as a Doedicurus, an Anki, a Moschops, you can simply set them onto wandering and walk up to the respective node, and you can actually use them to gather that resource. So you can see here, we've got the Doedicurus in our arms. If we hold him over the rock, you'll notice that he actually swings and breaks the rock. Now, this is absolutely amazing because you can simply just run around farming up a ton of materials until they get their inventories full. And your Carnivores won't be weighed down by it because it's their respective element and they reduce the cost by a really large amount. These guys are really great carnivores and I definitely recommend them for the maps of Aberration as well as all the other maps. They're just amazing. Now the carnivore coming in at number 5 is everyone's favorite worst nightmare. The giant squid, otherwise known as the Cjthecheesedj. This guy is a beast underwater and considering that's the only place you can use him, it's pretty explainable. This guy deals a crap ton of damage. He's able to leech off his enemies. You can see here that we are dealing damage to this poor trapped Megalodon, and we've just killed him. Just like that. This guy has a ton of health, and it allows him to deal with some of the most dangerous creatures underwater, such as the alphas. You can pretty much deal with any sort of alpha under here as long as you've got a friendly Tuso with you. Now, if you come across alpha mosasaurs, you can simply grab them and glitch them into the ground where they won't be able to damage you and you're able to kill them by utilizing this method. Now, as well as that, these guys excel in dealing damage if you get the right sort of squid with the right sort of stats. You can see here that we're hitting 196 per strike. They deal damage like no tomorrow. And if you ever find yourself getting into a pickle and need to retreat, well, they've got an option for that too. They can deploy a black jet cloud which allows you a 10-second window of escape and it stops the creatures attacking you for that period of time, which is absolutely amazing. Now these guys aren't obviously the fastest underwater creatures, but they do get the job done. Now they are also immune to Nidaria attacks. You can see here that we aren't getting damaged by them whatsoever, which also helps their situation. You can see here, these guys are great for collecting biotoxins, which you can use to make those the tranquilizer darts. So guys, the Cjthecheesedj definitely comes in at number 5 on this list as one of the best carnivores in my opinion, because everyone needs their deep sea tentacled nightmare that lives underwater, because how else are you going to explore underwater? So guys, the Cjthecheesedj comes in at number 5 on this list. Now coming in at number 4, we have none other than the Spino. Now guys, a little bit of a spoiler for the list, the Rex isn't actually featured. We decided to swap him out with the Spino because in my opinion, the Spino is the better dino. I know, don't crucify me. But the Spino has a plethora of abilities that, in my opinion, outweigh the Rex's usefulness. Granted, you can use the Rex entirely for boss fights and all that sort of stuff. You can still use the Spinos for boss fights, they just lack the same sort of stats as the Rex. Anyway, in my opinion, I think the Spinos are better than the Rexes, and that's that. So guys, the Spino comes in at number 4. Not only is it one of the best dual underwater and terrain creatures, it also is a heavy hitter, and I'm talking like a real heavy hitter. So guys, if you walk it through a small amount of water, you'll notice that you actually get a buff. You can see that buff is counting down in the top right hand corner. That essentially allows your health, speed, and damage to be boosted, which is a huge effect. Now you can currently see we're hitting 135 in our bipedal form. That's right, I said bipedal form because the Spino has 2 forms, a bipedal form and a quadruped form. Now the quadruped form is more designed for traveling the land, navigating through the sea, while the bipedal form is definitely meant for combat. You can see the sheer amount of damage we are doing in comparison between the two. There's about 40 points of difference between the bipedal mode and the quadrupedal mode. Now, as well as being on the bipedal mode, you can pretty much pivot on the spot, allowing you to easily deal with scragglers that attack at your back, which is really annoying. Now, when they do go through the water, like I said, they receive that buff again that increases their movement speed, their health regeneration, as well as their damage. However, this buff also applies if you go underwater with them, which makes them great for exploring the underwater terrain. Now, obviously these guys aren't the fastest swimmers, but they do get the job done. You can see here we are underwater and we can deal with most of these threats under here. You can't obviously switch to your bipedal mode while underwater, but your Spino can still deal a lot of damage, and I would definitely recommend using one of these guys to go deep sea diving if you haven't tried it already, because they do wreck most things underwater. And now the Carnivore coming in at number 3 is the Reaper King. This guy is a lot of fun when it comes to taming him, when it comes to raising him, when it comes to just everything in regards to the Reaper King. These guys are just so much fun. Now, this guy is definitely worth taming because he is an absolute beast and he has a rather wide range of uses. Now, obviously you can just use him to run around destroying anything and everything that gets in your way. You can see here this guy's a 150 tame, and he's got 12k health, 284.6 melee damage, and he's hitting for 213. These guys wreck everything. They go toe to toe with Gigas, unless of course the Giga has a rider and that rider has a light pet, in which case these guys do suffer normal damage, which can be a downside for them. If you ever come into a battle with a Reaper King and the enemy has a light pet, do be careful because you can take some serious damage. But these guys can also be used as turret soakers. That's right, turret soakers. Because you as the player sit on his back and the Reaper King is so big and his head is in the way, they actually act as turret soakers. So it reduces the amount of damage the Reaper King takes from turrets as well. Unless of course they've got a light pet, in which case once again you've got to be really careful with that. Now Reaper Kings are also great because they have a ton of health, so naturally they're really good soakers. The only downside to them is that they don't have any saddles, which doesn't reduce the amount of turret damage to them, but it still makes them really viable because their health can get ridiculously high. Now they've also got the ability to shoot out poison spores, which slow down and damage other creatures as well as enemy players and enemy tames, and they also have the ability to jump pretty large distances as well, which is great. Now, one final ability that they have is their ability to do a tail swing. Now, this tail swing propels pretty much anything in their proximity away. Now, this is great for clearing out of PvP situations where you're in a battle with some dudes that you don't want to be in. Say you're on a high cliff or something like that and you can't jump away. You can simply tail spin them and that'll allow you the chance to quickly spring yourself up and jump away from everything, which is something that you can think about doing while being in a PvP battle. So the Reaper Kings are definitely something you need to tame, and that is why they come in at number 3 on this list. Now guys, the creature coming in at number 2 is the Managma. This guy almost made it to number 1, however the recent patch made me put him at number 2 spot. So this guy is an absolute beast and a total machine. Not too long ago, we took out the Titans of Extinction with this guy. Now, like I said, they have nerfed him, so his Ice Breath no longer does as much damage as it used to. You need to be real close to these guys now in order to get the maximum effect out of the Managma's Frost Breath. If you are using it from more of a distance, it won't deal as much damage, which, you know, is a good thing for the meta of Ark, but for like PvE situations, not so much. Like I said, we did use this guy to solo the Titans with his Ice Breath. That's how amazing it is. So as well as that, this guy is great at traversing the terrains with his jumping ability. You can see there that we're able to jump and propel ourselves forward. As well as that, he also has the ability to pretty much knock riders and kill riders straight off the back of their mounts with his dive ability if he's able to hit them. You can see here that we do the dive ability there. If there was a dino with a rider on it, the rider would most likely die unless he had strong enough armor or the Managma's melee damage was too weak. These guys are great all-round mounts, and they're definitely one of the best carnivores that are worth taming in all of Ark. Like, they look really cool, they feel the part, they do everything you really need them to do. So guys, the Managma comes in at number 2 on this list. Now finally, the one that you've all been waiting for, the creature coming in at number 1 are the Wyverns. Now we're generalizing all the Wyverns, so Fire Wyverns, Poison Wyverns, Ice Wyverns, and Lightning Wyverns. All these guys are amazing, and they are definitely worth carnivores, worth taming. Their breath attacks, all of them have their uses, and they all deal amazing damage. Their ability to fly makes them one of the fastest flyers in the game. As well as that, their melee damage can sometimes exceed the power of Rex's, which is great. Especially the Fire Wyvern, he has the burn ability, which obviously causes his victims to burn, and that burn does damage over time depending on the opponent's health. You can see this poor Rex is taking 75 damage per tick just for the extra 10 seconds after we've breathed fire on him. This in turn can deal quite a bit of damage to the bigger dudes. These guys pretty much act as portable flame arrows. Now you've also got the Lightning Wyvern, which has his lightning breath, the Poison Wyvern, which has the poison breath, and then the Ice Wyvern, which has obviously the ice breath. All these breaths deal amazing damage. They each have their own unique effects on players and dinos, and they're just so majestic to fly around on. And oh, just look at them. Like, who doesn't want to fly around on a Wyvern? They also have a wing flap ability and the ability to pick up large dinos such as Stegos off the ground and carry them, essentially making these guys a solo tanker, because you can carry a Stego, go soak any base's turrets, and just fly back, carry another Stego back. However, with the addition of cryopods, that's kind of more obsolete now, since people just carry them all around in cryopods. But these guys are just all-round great tames to have. Now, many of you may argue, well, you don't technically tame up a Fire Wyvern or Wyverns in general. You have to hatch them from the eggs and raise them. We've just classified it all into one video for these guys because it would just get way too convoluted. So guys, we did leave out quite a few dinosaurs that you might have been expecting on the list, such as Rexes, Gigas, Griffins, that sort of thing. This list is based solely on my opinion, and just the differing abilities of each dino in Ark makes this list really hard to come up with and to complete. So hopefully I covered enough bases with this list. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the list, and I definitely would recommend taming up most of these carnivores on this list. Otherwise, what's the point of making the video? So guys, we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this revamp. If you've got any more ideas or you'd like to see any more in specific, let me know down in the comments below. But other than that, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.